Okay, we're gonna record a portion of an audiobook. The next day, Caesar's opponents brought all the forces of every commander out from all the camps. They reached the brow of a hill not far from Caesar's camp, formed the battle line, and waited. Caesar, in turn, led out his troops quickly. So this is from February of the year 46 near Uzita. After Scipio's forces positioned themselves for battle, Caesar, expecting them to advance against him, holds his army back. Various reasons compel him not to go on the attack himself. He believed without any doubt that his opponents were determined to clash with him in battle and would move closer to him since they had such large forces and the king's auxiliaries on their side, and had been faster in coming out. He made the rounds on his horse, urging on the legions, and once the signal was given, he kept on the lookout for the enemy's approach. As for himself, Caesar had good reasons not to move forward very far from his own fortifications. Armed enemy cohorts were in the town of Uzita. Besides, on the right flank, his wings was directly opposite. I think I read this portion last time, so we're gonna skip it. They spent a few days acquiring a large amount of grain from the territory of the Cadurci, of whom some were eager to help them by supplying it, while others were unable to stop them from taking what they wanted. They also made several nighttime excursions to attack our forts. This induced Caninius to delay completing the circumvallation of the entire town in order to avoid the risk of either being unable to protect the entire siege works when completed or having to place undermanned guard posts in many locations. When they had acquired a large supply of grain, Drapes and Lucterius established a camp not more than 10 miles from the town, intending to bring the grain into the town portion by portion. They divided the responsibilities for this operation between themselves. Drapes remained behind in the enemy camp, keeping guard with part of the troops, while Lucterius led a convoy of loaded animals to the town. When he arrived there, he placed guard posts all around, and all round the 10th hour of the night began to haul the grain through narrow forest paths into the town. The guards of the Roman camp, however, heard the noise they made. Scouts were sent out and reported back what was happening. Caninius swiftly drew the cohorts that were ready under arms. I think we're gonna skip this audiobook. I'm gonna go get the campaigns of Alexander. I don't know the cool battle scenes from this book. I can try to find it. This is the war in Alexandria. This is titled Landmark Julius Caesar Alexandrian War by unknown author. Now that the war in Alexandria had fully broken out, Caesar sent for his entire fleet from Rhodes as well as from Syria and Cilicia. He called up archers from Crete and cavalry from Malchus, king of the Nabateans. He gave orders for all kinds of catapults to be requisitioned everywhere, grain to be sent, and auxiliary forces to be brought in. In the meantime, his own fortifications were built up with additional works every day, while all the parts of the town that seemed more vulnerable were being attacked with the use of protective roofs and sheds. From inside buildings, moreover, battering rams were driven through openings in all the walls against the buildings that abutted them. Wherever the enemy was dislodged by the collapse of structures or where grounds were taken by force, Caesar's fortifications were expanded. There is little or no danger of fire in Alexandria, as the buildings have no joist and board floors of any wood at all. Their integrity depends on structural arches, and the roofs are made of rubble or flagstone. Most of all, Caesar was eager by driving forward his siege works and protective roofs to isolate the narrowest part of the town from the rest of the city. This is the part shaped by the wetlands, cutting in from the south. His intention was first to make it possible, once the city was divided into two parts, to lead his troops with a single plan and command, and second, to be able to support his men if they were in trouble, and to bring a relief force from one side of the town to the other. His main aim, however, was to have on hand a more sufficient supply of water and fodder. As it was now, he had only a tiny amount of the first available and no access to the second. The wetlands could offer plenty of both. On the other hand, the Alexandrians did not show any hesitation or delay in carrying out their preparations into all parts of the territory as far as the power of the Egyptian king reaches. They had sent legates and recruiting officers to levy troops, and they had brought into the town a great quantity of missiles and catapults, and an innumerable number of soldiers. As part of the same effort, huge weapons factories were set up in the city. A lot of people in Los Angeles. Seattle's fucking slammed. Sacramento's looking pretty wild. Milwaukee's looking wild. We are still listening to Wardruna Ragnarok. Besides all this, they had armed the adult slaves who were supplied by the wealthier owners with daily food and a stipend. By deploying this large force over a wide area, they intended to guard the fortifications of the more remote districts. They kept the veteran cohorts in the most crowded parts of the city and gave them no definite assignments, so that wherever fighting broke out, these men with their strength unimpaired could be sent in to bring aid against the enemy. The Alexandrians had closed off all the streets and alleyways with a triple wall. It was actually built of stone blocks and 40 feet high at a minimum. Some parts of the city were on lower ground, and these they fortified with very high towers, of all of them 10 stories high. In addition, they had assembled movable towers of an equal number of stories. They put wheels under these towers. By harnessing draft animals to them with ropes, they pulled them along the wide and straight streets to any part of the city where they were needed. The city, being extremely productive and full of supplies, afforded resources for every kind of equipment. The ingenious and very smart inhabitants put into effect on their own side the same measures. They saw our men taking, and they were so clever at it that it looked as if our men were imitating the enemy's work. The Alexandrians also made many inventions of their own, and they managed at the same time to harry our fortifications and defend their own. In private meetings, the public assemblies, the leaders kept driving home that the Roman people were increasingly making a habit of occupying this kingdom. A few years before, Aulus Gabinius had been in Egypt with his army. Pompey had fled there too to take refuge after his defeat. Caesar had come with his troops. Moreover, the death of Pompey had completely failed to achieve its intended effect, to keep Caesar from staying with the Alexandrians. Unless they drove him out, the kingdom would be turned into a Roman province, and they had better act quickly, since he was now cut off by storms typical of the season, and reinforcements from overseas could not reach him. In the meantime, as we have indicated above, a quarrel had arisen between Achilles, who commanded the army of veterans, and Arsinoe, the younger daughter of King Ptolemy. Each was scheming against the other in the hope of seizing supreme power. Arsinoe acted first, having Achilles killed by her tutor, the eunuch Ganymede. Once he was slain, she took complete control without any guardian and colleague in power. The command of the army was handed over to Ganymede, and once he took on this leadership position, he increased the monetary gifts to the soldiers, managed everything else with diligence, and the situation required almost all of Alexandria had tunnels dug underneath it, with channels leading to the Nile, private homes to conduct the water, which over time gradually becomes clear as the sediments settles.